Hey guys, Robbie's Post Review coming in at you. Today we talk about the Tag movie that I did a pre-review on earlier, and with it we're hoping that we were going to get some surprises in terms of its quality. Now, again, for those who don't remember the premise of it, the movie is about guys who have been based on the true event of gentlemen who have been playing the same game of tag for years on end with the goal of trying to tag their friend, played by Jeremy Renner, who's never been tagged, in what looks to be a silly, fun, and very ridiculous comedy to come about. What was the reaction? Well, Robbie's post-review coming at you. And we start with, of course, the likes. Now, in regards to Tag, the biggest thing is that it was indeed very fun. You get caught up in the spirit of being a kid again, primarily in just how much fun those games used to be, the thing of brotherhood and bondness of how your closest friends can certainly keep you young at heart, young at mind, and potentially young at body if you're like Jeremy Renner's character. You know, it was a lot of fun, more than I thought I was going to enjoy it, and in regards to it, it was also deeper. You know, a big like for the fact that a comedy went a little more into character development in just the presentation. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it is that one of the characters, played by, and I'm looking her up now, so please hold up, Annabelle Wallis, she plays a reporter, and as she's kind of digging into the scoop of the story, you start getting this nice dive into why these rules were established, how this happened, with each of the characters getting, of course, a little bit more light shed upon them in terms of the evolution of this game. You know, it was actually a lot of fun, good story development in terms of some emotional components with it, and that helped ground a couple of the things that were happening in this movie. In addition, I have to admit, I chuckled and laughed a lot at various parts of the joke. Remember that hope that I came up with of the fact that I was hoping for a good blend of comedy, and, you know, they actually kind of touched a few different styles. My particular favorites had to have been a little more of the physical comedy and primarily the kind of dry sarcasm and perfect timing of Hannibal Buress's character, who his just dry delivery and just straightforward, nonchalant comedy style were absolutely funny to watch, and just in regards to a lot of things. Now, as a whole, you know, the movie is super over the top. I will not lie to you about it. And at times, it fits with the theme of how just grandiose this game is. I mean, again, it's the same game of tag for years on end, and just seeing these guys go through the means to try to tag their friend is quite hilarious and definitely cringeworthy at a couple of scenes. Because of that, yeah, I can't lie, it's stupid at many times, but at the same time, it helped add that youthful energy back into it. And for you, those of you who are super competitive, you're definitely going to feel that vibe of trying to do everything you can to achieve your goal. It was just an overall well-rounded movie, and again, the emotional component that comes into it helps curb that edge and ridiculousness. I believe there are also some movie references I caught in terms of the comedic style, so, you know, A+ to that, because I'm always big on trying to push for finding and hiding these little Easter eggs and cleverly integrating them. And that movie had a few in its mindset as well. So across the board, kudos and bravo to that. Now, I guess the last part is that this movie keeps you moving, keeps the pace up, so it makes it for very entertaining. Few slow parts, in my opinion. And with it, it is a movie that will definitely give you exactly what you want and are expecting, which again gets you thumbs up for maybe not surprising you, but at least not going down the opposite path and surprising you in a bad way. So, you know, that's where it gets kudos for it too. Now, in regards to the dislikes I had, there's just a few things. Number one, there's some banter comedy that maybe got a little stale, and I can't even say that that's a major dislike until it got to only talking about genitalia. If you're a fan of that and you just love this relentless, semi-aggressive focus on primarily doing stuff to male genitalia, then by all means, you're going to love most of these components. But for me, whose style that's not really the case, there were times where it just went unnecessarily and, again, kind of down the really stupid path of just being obsessed of that particular part of the body. In fact, I kind of would have edited that whole scene out if I could have, just because it didn't quite fit well for me. In addition to that, there are a couple of other components where seeing has much property damage and what would definitely cause self-injury not happening. That realism, I mean, let's face it, this movie isn't going to be very realistic at times, but that component sometimes, I guess, took it down too much of a ridiculous path for me, over the top. But I can't really be mad at that, with the exception of the way that they took Isla Fisher's character. I love her a lot in a lot of components that she's done, but for this movie, her character was a little too over-the-top aggressive and kind of to the annoying extent. And I don't think it was her. It's not her acting by far, but in all honesty, it felt like the direction they wanted to take her just didn't work for me. And sometimes her anger coming out, I mean, in this day and age, I would have slapped the person if I didn't have the restraint back on it. But that's the kind of character that a lot of people can tend to like when you do these comical, kind of cantankerous, emotional switches that are semi-entertaining, but in this case, just didn't work for me. I can't say that they didn't do too much outside of it, but they took a couple of story leads that could have used a little more fleshing out and development, but, they were for what they were. So in a comedy like this, you're maybe not expecting quite the story that of a well-balanced movie, but it's something to bring up. In terms of cussing, the F word is still the leading character in there, but, unlike some of the other films, they actually did a nice job not overutilizing it. That kind of went back into the use of the male genitalia stuff instead. So, again, there is some unbalanced and disproportionate uses of things that, if you don't mind being hit over the head with the same thing over and over again, then this movie is definitely for you. In regards to, I guess, the only other thing, there are going to be a couple of moments where doing some of the stuff that they did and joked about, and then, of course, getting away with it, yeah. I know, it's supposed to be a movie where boundaries and limits are not really the thing to be respected, but in this day of impressionable stuff, you gotta be very careful, and making that, crossing those lines like they did definitely was a little more insulting at times, especially when you heard some of the audience members. Now, again, this movie does have some wit behind it, but crossing the line sometimes to obtain that wit, probably not the best direction in my opinion. But again, I'm kind of one of the more old souls who isn't into the new age of how much do we push until it pushes back and gets us. Anyway, overall, the movie Tag ended up being better than I expected. It was fun. It was definitely one of those that's going to inspire probably a lot of people to do their own version of games and game nights. It's going to be silly, it's fun, it's over the top, and it's ridiculous on so many levels, but it's worth it. And again, given some of the emotional principle that's behind it, it really kind of helped personalizes this movie for fans that otherwise could have potentially been lost to it. Regardless, is it the best movie to hit the summer? No, but it is a good alternative. But definitely, please do not take young kids to see this, because even though it's not the most aggressive or most disturbing R-rated movies, it's got a lot of stuff that really kids below the age of at least 13 do not need to see, in my opinion. Kids are growing up a little too fast, but I'm not going to go down that political one, and you definitely don't want them accidentally mirroring or picking up a catchphrase from this movie that at playdates you don't want to spread around. Overall, it's again just a fun, straightforward movie, so you will have fun with it. No big twists, no complicated things. And is it worth a trip to the theater? The answer to that question is probably yes, ironically. But more so if you can go with a best friend, couple of buddies, or again, kind of a teenage group movie to really bring the full effect out. Otherwise, you're probably best off watching it at home, Redbox rental, to kind of give yourself a discount break. Anyway, Robbie's Movie Reviews is done for the week. We'll attempt to put up a couple more videos about other topics, as I think the Super Smash Bros. One went okay. But as always, please share, please help me make these better, and please engage in this, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Bye.